Starting DayZ as a new or returning player can feel like an impossible task, but what if I told you it's actually fairly easy when you learn a few key things? So here, if you give me the chance, I'll give you everything and more you'll need to know to survive your first day, teaching you things you usually only learn the hard way, so you can actually start to enjoy the game and meet some friends. If you like the video or find it helpful, please leave a like or a subscribe, it genuinely helps me out. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Come on already. If you unjam, I promise I'll kill the first arsehole I see. Thank you. Firstly, you need to find out where you are using a sign or a vantage point. This knowledge is critical because it influences your immediate options and future decisions. 99% of the time, you'll spawn in facing north, which is already a helping factor given your main goal is likely going to be northwest. If you're near a town, go towards it and scavenge what you can. If you're near a huge city, select a route with the most loot options, but don't stay there trying to clear the entire city out. Lingering on the coast while tempting for new players due to its easy access and initial mental safety net is not advisable. Coastal areas offer scarce resources. Even the larger cities don't have exactly what you need, and whatever loot you do find is likely to be of lower quality. This scarcity extends to potential player encounters. While PvP combat might seem like an exciting prospect early on, engagements in these zones rarely yield valuable gear due to the low level of equipment carried by coastal players. You'd just be fighting for crappy gear to eventually die and respawn in a place filled with more crappy gear. More importantly, as a newcomer, your chances of success in an armed conflict are slim, particularly if you encounter armed opponents while you are probably without weapons. Venturing inland, although more challenging, offers richer loot and more significant opportunities for both survival and combat success. The first rule of survival in DayZ is to get inland as quickly as possible. Well, it's not the first rule, this isn't Fight Club. I mean, that club we can't talk about because of the rule. The second rule, point. The second point, before guns, grenades and armor, you need to search sheds, warehouses and homes for a solid melee weapon. A reliable weapon enables you to defend yourself from threats such as zombies or hostile players. Engaging in combat with bare hands is not only inefficient, but also kind of risky. It puts you at a disadvantage against armed opponents and zombies alike, which are not actually zombies, they're infected, but who gives a f. You should also never punch while holding something because that item will become damaged. This is particularly true for critical items like bandages. So many new players forget to put them away, and when they become damaged, they lose their disinfected status, opening you up to a risk of infection. And gloves, which also suffer from damage to the point of ruin if you keep punching with them. Always use a melee weapon. However, and moving on to the next rule, point. Damn it. Sorry, Brad. Please don't do me like you did Angelina. Taking on every zombie is just not smart as a new or returning player. The infected can behave unpredictably, and overwhelming numbers can easily lead to a premature end. Utilizing stealth kills using a knife and attacking from behind or avoiding infected altogether can save vital resources and health. In situations where you're surrounded, seeking refuge in buildings and remaining quiet can allow you to wait out the threat. Just lie down and stay still. Wow, it's like I'm working for Nickelodeon. They'll get bored and eventually wander off. Should you sustain injuries, it's important to remember that blood loss renders the screen more colorless with each threshold passed. However, this condition is temporary as your body gradually regenerates blood over time, and it's perfectly reasonable to continue your game with it. Losing blood is normal. It keeps you on your toes and lets you know you're not pregnant. Next, securing clothing that provides adequate insulation is imperative, especially in the harsh climates of DayZ. Opt for attire with darker or neutral colors to blend into your surroundings better, reducing the likelihood of being spotted by other players. Do not overlook accessories like hats, masks and gloves, as these items contribute to your overall warmth. The game provides the level of insulation properties that every piece of clothing has, allowing you to make informed decisions about your gear. It's worth noting that damaged clothing offers reduced insulation and protection. If your clothes do become ruined, you can use a sewing kit or duct tape to repair them back to a worn status. In the event of clothing or backpacks becoming ruined, continue to use them until replacements are found, because when you remove them, you won't be able to place them back on, meaning you'll lose their storage. Trying to get them back on you when you can't is an unwelcomed shock that can leave you more surprised than when Cinderella got to the ball and choked. Next thing is somewhat related and is vital information to know. DayZ's rain system can be dealt with. Rather than viewing rain as a deterrent to activity, see it as an opportunity to adapt and continue your journey. Taking shelter under trees or running within forests can offer a partial respite from the rain, reducing its impact to almost zero. You can quite commonly find waterproof clothing, so rain becomes less of an issue, allowing you to stay mobile and protect your essential gear from water damage and curious elves with sticky fingers. Waterproof clothing is more useful than most people think, because items within wet clothing can become wet themselves, increasing weight and rendering some of them less useful. It's important to monitor the condition of your clothing in rain to avoid hypothermia, as each new wetness status decreases your insulation by around 20%, transitioning from damp to wet and eventually drenched. Should your clothes become too wet, wringing them out will place them at damp status, or drying them by a fire are effective methods for restoring their condition. While removing clothes is generally ill-advised, especially around children, doing so near a heat source is a viable strategy. You will stay warm and you can use this time to get a heat buff, making you immune to the cold weather for around 5 minutes. It's like the old expression goes, wearing wet clothing is like living in a house from the 1800s. It's all fun and games until asbestos kills a toddler. I may have misremembered that quote. Anyway, also keep in mind you can find and use heat packs to keep your temperature from turning blue, which indicates you're at a risk of illness and health loss, which is useful for these situations until you can find something better insulated. This next one you need to know. Running depletes your character's food and water reserves at an accelerated rate, effectively halving your sustainability in the wild. As a newcomer, your focus should be on maximizing your reach and survival time by conserving as much energy as possible. The game is a test of endurance rather than speed, requiring a measured approach to exploration and travel. Prioritize cautious movement over haste to ensure your longevity. In the survival hierarchy of DayZ, food is a more critical resource than water due to its faster depletion rate. Managing your food supply effectively is essential for long-term survival. You can hunt and prepare your own food such as chicken, but take precautions to avoid illness. Directly cutting raw meat can contaminate your hands by covering them in blood, leading to sickness when you try to eat something. To avoid this, use gloves or improvised hand wraps, which can be crafted from rags. Note, however, that clothing created from rags offers pretty much no insulation, so you should always favor actual clothing. Should you find yourself without gloves or the means to craft them, cleaning your hands with water from wells, natural sources, or bottles is the best way to stay healthy after cutting up meat. Also keep in mind you can keep the chicken's whole carcass on you and not cut it until you have something to cover your hands with. And remember, fruit spawns under almost every fruit tree in Chernarus. Just stay in the area a while and they'll appear. When cooking with fires, as opposed to what? Cooking with ice? That is stupid. When your laser vision fails you and you need to cook using flames, consider the time of day and your surroundings to avoid drawing unwanted attention. Cooking indoors can seem like you have more protection, but it can also make your location more conspicuous due to the smoke from chimneys, which reaches much higher than a regular campfire. Alternatively, cooking with a stone fire or in a fire barrel presents a safer option. Fire barrels in particular, which can be found in warehouses and some sheds, offer the advantage of light concealment, making them suitable for both day and night. If neither option is available, try for a secluded spot to reduce the risk of detection by other players or infected, because infected can respond to light sources. Maintaining a supply of disinfected bandages or rags is needed for treating injuries without the risk of infection. Disinfectants or iodine or tincture can make sterile treatments or cure stage 1 of wound infection, which lasts for around 20 minutes before progressing to stage 2. However, failure to address an infection during this time will mean you'll need the use of tetracycline, which should be taken 1 every 5 minutes over the space of 10 to 20 minutes depending on its severity. Because yes, DayZ has its own immune system constantly running in the background, meaning you have to deal with the issue. You can't just hop on a jet and puff daddy it somewhere else. Something I touched on at the start, encountering other players presents a complex dilemma, particularly for those new to the game. As a novice player, your primary focus should be on survival and learning the nuances of the game. Engaging with other players without the necessary experience or confidence can leave you vulnerable to betrayal or aggression, potentially setting back your progress significantly. If you choose to interact, do so with a plan and an understanding of the risks involved. I will never tell you not to engage. It is one of the most incredible things you can do on DayZ. However, this is teaching you how best to survive, not how best to make friends and influence people. That was a video I did last year. A common pitfall for newcomers is the inclination to hoard every item they find. While it might seem logical to stockpile resources given the game's scarcity-driven environment, effective inventory management is so important. Overloading your backpack with non-essential items not only slows you down, but also limits your capacity to carry genuinely useful gear. Prioritize items that directly contribute to your survival, such as food, water, medical supplies, and ammunition. Items such as knives and rags are also a must-have. Seriously, the knife is the most important tool you need. Pay attention to the various indicators for hunger, thirst, temperature, blood loss, and health. These appear on the screen constantly, as well as indicators for a broken bone, which prevents you from walking, requiring a splint, damage to your foot, which can sometimes slow you down but goes away on its own, weakening your leg, making them more susceptible to further damage until healed, and the dreaded cut. You also have a sickness indicator, but it doesn't tell you what you're sick with, and a medicated indicator, telling you your medication is in your system. Each of these elements impacts your survival, and understanding how to manage and treat them effectively can prevent many avoidable deaths. For example, staying hydrated and fed affects your overall health. It also increases your immunity, making you less likely to get ill, while keeping warm can prevent cold-related illnesses, a common cause of death. So far, I've been sprinkling in bits of knowledge about the health system as not to completely overwhelm you, but here is something I honestly see a comment about probably on a daily basis, so I'm going to give you the information to avoid it. The distinction between charcoal pills and tetracycline tablets is essential. Charcoal pills are the go-to remedy for food poisoning, a common ailment resulting from consuming something you shouldn't have. In contrast, tetracycline treats bacterial infections, including advanced wound infections, flus, and other conditions that charcoal pills cannot address. Both types of medication can be found in medical facilities and hospitals, marked by their distinctive blue color and shape. It's essential to use these medications one after another and not all in one go. Consuming them in excess has no extra effect. When you pop a pill, you'll see this icon I discussed earlier. When it disappears, take another until the sickness icon goes. It's roughly every 5 minutes. I'll link an extensive medical guide in the top right. In the world of DayZ, finding and efficiently using firearms is a cornerstone of advancement. Police stations scattered around the map are reliable places to find guns and armor, but expanding your search to the several military sites located just outside coastal areas can significantly increase your arsenal with higher tier weapons and even clothing and gear. However, using firearms at all in DayZ can be risky. Firing a gun can attract unwanted attention from both the infected and hostile players over considerable distances. To mitigate this, consider crafting an improvised suppressor using a bottle and some duct tape, which can help dampen the sounds of your shots. This makeshift solution has limited durability and effectiveness, varying with the caliber of the weapon used. For quieter alternatives, the Mark II pistol equipped with a built-in suppressor, which is found on coastal houses, and the inherently silent crossbow are valuable for stealth operations. The crossbow in particular allows for crafting of bolts from feathers and sharpened sticks, offering a reusable and stealthy option for hunting or self-defense. Check hunting shops for the crossbow. Also, remember you can chamber single bullets when a magazine is unavailable, allowing you a single shot before you have to chamber another bullet. Shotguns, with their ease of loading and significant firepower, often become a favoured choice for beginners. Oh, and you have to load magazines manually. Take the magazine to hand and load in the bullets. Attempting to collect car parts or build a base without a solid grasp of survival basics is a common pitfall for many players. Vehicles, while useful for transportation, require a significant investment of time and resources to assemble, maintain, and protect. In a similar way, constructing a base demands not only materials and tools, but also a good location and the means to defend it, plus all the food and water which you'll burn through quickly, exerting your body with manual labour. Both tasks are resource intensive and complex, and I don't recommend it immediately. You need to do things in order. Even the gear you collect should be done in a specific order, and to learn what that order is, click here, where I'll show you everything you need, where to get it and when, from rags to riches. Or for something else, click here. And as always, until next time.